Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Jason Mackey's First 10, a short version podcast talking all things Pittsburgh sports. Today is Friday, September 13th in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Well, of course, you know it's Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, right? You wouldn't be watching this from Seattle, Washington. I wouldn't think so. But in any case, busy weekend around here. We got the backyard brawl and a gigantic parking snafu. I can't wait to experience that one on the North Shore with the Pirates. Just sort of a joke. Mark Belko had an interesting story about that on A1. Secondarily, going to be flying to Denver on Sunday for Steelers Broncos. Looking forward to that. Another edition of Justin Fields and to see how the Steelers offense handles itself. The offensive line specifically, some intrigue there. But going to get to actually a little bit of Penguins stuff that I've been pushing off all week. We've been doing these ongoing previews. Matt Venzel and Cam Hoover have been writing about several aspects to the team that they open camp next week. As you know, there's going to be a rookie tournament, and then they get going in earnest. I always look forward to that, having hockey back. Very excited. Honestly, I've said this before on this podcast, just to, I'm going to be, I don't know what you want to call it, but I'll be on the road some with them. A lot of home games, a very regular role as a group of us kind of back up Matt and help out with Penguins coverage. So if you've been reading the PG for a while, I used to be on the Penguins beat before Pirates. Love that and looking forward to dipping my toes back into that. But anyway, one aspect of the Penguins that I really wanted to get into that I think is hugely important with the team is the defense. And that's something that Cam wrote about a couple days ago. And there's just a lot of moving parts with this. And I think it's maybe an undersold aspect. Kyle Dubas spent a lot of the offseason reworking the forwards. We talked about that, kind of addressing the bottom six, adding some ingredients that I think the Penguins needed and great. And there's been a lot of talk about Sidney Crosby and his contract. Great. That all makes sense. But if you look at where this team can go, I mean, there's room for improvement there, very large room for improvement there, honestly. And you've got some steadiness with Marcus Pettersson. But I look at Erik Karlsson and have the Penguins gotten the best out of Erik Karlsson? I don't think they have. That's not an attack against Karlsson. I just think there's so much more in there. You look at 2 years ago, 6th defenseman in NHL history, first in 31 years to reach 100 points. That's the kind of level that the Penguins could be getting. Again, 11 goals, 45 assists, 56 points last year. It was his lowest point total since 2017, 2018. And by far his worst in a full year in which he played 82 games. Now, I understand there's always going to be criticisms of Karlsson and his defense. I get that. But at the same time, the upside can be really good. The upside on the power play can be really good. And those are two areas that the Penguins could really use. You know, Karlsson being an offensive force, and honestly, I would let him go. Like, you know, evaluate the defense, grade on a curve, whatever you want to say. But if he can produce offensively for me, that's huge. I really liked what Chris Letang did last season. Don't have a ton of a problem with it. A huge problem with it, I should say. I think we all should know kind of what Letang is at this point. There's risk versus reward, but I would rather take the risk, get the reward, etc. I want him to take chances. I kind of wish there was a steadier partner at times. Like I missed that pairing with Brian Dumoulin when it was going at its best. That being said, Marcus Pettersson was outstanding last season. And it takes us to what I think is the biggest key for the Penguins, the defense bouncing back, is Ryan Graves. 6 years, $4.5 million contract for him. And obviously it didn't go well for a variety of reasons. He talked about the system, there were injuries, just not finding a fit. And there's really nowhere to go. Like you can't go trade Ryan Graves this offseason or anytime or whatever. I mean, that's the classic, here's our bad player, give us a good player back. You can't do that. Like he has to figure it out. The Penguins have to find a way for him to figure it out. And I don't have any magic solution. If I did, I would bottle it and sell it to the Penguins. But they need Ryan Graves to figure out and become what he was supposed to become. But if that's your top four, like again, let's live in fantasy land here for a second. But let's say Ryan Graves figures it out. You get more from Erik Karlsson. You have Pettersson and Letang. You figure out some combination of those guys. That's a pretty solid top four. It really is. And it can allow your third pairing, whatever it ends up being, maybe it's Matt Grzelcyk, maybe it's Jack St. Ivany on the other side. I don't know. Sebastian Aho's in the mix as well. That's a pretty decent third pairing. They can play sheltered minutes against not top six lines. I really like that. So again, there's some keys here. Obviously, injuries will play a factor. But if the Penguins can figure out the defense, I think it means a whole heck of a lot. All right, going to take a short break, and we'll be back with your questions on the other side. Thanks for watching First 10, and here's a little message from our friends at the Bradenton Area Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Embrace the laid-back charm of island life while sinking your toes in the sand and discovering real, authentic Florida in the Bradenton area. Unspoiled beauty and pristine beaches, a vibrant waterfront downtown energized by local arts and culture, fresh Floridian cuisine with a flourish of rich history, and friendly locals ready to welcome you to this preserved paradise on Florida's Gulf Coast. Plan your visit today at BradentonGulfIslands.com.
And welcome back to First 10. We are here about 10 a.m. every morning, or at least weekday mornings. And about 10 minutes. And make sure you check us out. You can like and subscribe. You can get this and a lot of other content. Let's get to a couple questions here. John D. at Johnny D92 asks, how can Ben Cherington declare that Derek Shelton is coming back when it's very likely that he is also on the hot seat? Who is overseeing and evaluating the job that Ben Cherington does? John asks a good question. How can Ben Cherington come out and say that he expects Derek Shelton to be back as the Pirates manager? Well, he could say that he expects anything he wants. Doesn't make it reality. Now, the answer to the second part, who oversees the job that Ben does, it's technically Travis Williams and Bob Nutting. In my opinion, Travis Williams is mistitled. He handles a lot more business than baseball. I mean, yes, he oversees some of it. He's below, directly below Bob Nutting in the organizational flow chart. Is Travis Williams going to step up and evaluate the job the international scouting director is doing? No, he's not. Honestly, they should probably just separate the lanes and put Travis on the business side. The one evaluating the job Ben does is Bob. And everything that I've come to learn about Bob Nutting is he's an extremely deliberate person, maybe to the point of fault. I think that's a fair criticism of Bob, that he's too patient, too deliberate. And I don't see any way, as this became the big story of the week, that Bob Nutting decided in early September of a season where the Pirates have underachieved and they have a lot of things wrong with them from all aspects, where Bob spent money, didn't come back, they made trades, didn't get enough back, there are developmental problems with young players, major league teams' performance hasn't been up to snuff, they've played a sloppy brand of baseball. All of a sudden, Bob decides that it's just fine to bring everybody back, or bring the manager back, who's probably going to want to bring a lot of his staff. I have a hard time believing that. I mean, Cherington can think that he expects at this point for Derek Shelton to be the manager, but I don't buy it. It's why I wrote the column that I did. So here's another part of John's question. I want to address this before moving on to some other stuff, but I don't believe that Cherington is on the hot seat. I don't think that the Pirates, I've never gotten the sense that they want to create that problem for themselves, if that's a way to put it. I don't think that, I think that would send the message to their fans that this 5-year plan is a complete failure and we want to go in a total other direction. I think that the minor way of doing that, or the smaller way of doing that, I should say, is to change out the manager. And again, I think Bob's going to be deliberate. I think he's going to see how this thing finishes. Hey, maybe the Pirates finish 11-5 and you look at this, all right, they had some problems, but you can see it. You need to get to the end of the season to see that. Or maybe they go 4-12 and you're like, what the heck are we doing here? Bob makes a move. I don't know, but I think you want to see it through to the end of the season. I think there's less of a chance of Ben than Shelty. All right. Does Kutch get a deal with the Pirates? That's Bream was out at parking chair. Yes, I think so. I don't see how he doesn't. Parking chair has about a 750 OPS. He wants to come back. The city wants him back. The owner wants him back. And the owner has said on record, Kutch will remain a Pirate for as long as he wants to remain a Pirate. What are we doing here? There's really not much to discuss. Again, I've said previously my interpretation of the stuff you hear, or just, my sense of it is that they would probably rather have more flexibility in that spot than Kutch offers. At the same time, are you really going to complain about having Andrew McCutchen in a Pirates uniform? Come on. I mean, he's worth his weight alone. He's worth his $5 million salary, I should say, with, the people he brings to the ballpark, the excitement, mood, whatever you want to say, the off-field stuff, being Andrew McCutchen. And then you add to that he's had a really good year. Nah, he's got to be back. I don't see how they go away from that. All right, a couple more, and I'm going to try to make this a little bit quick. We should call this first 12, I think, because it ends up being 12. minutes. But the Open Creations asks, when do you see Nick York coming up? Probably before too long, to be honest with you. Billy Cook has looked really good, by the way. I would keep playing him. No issues there. But I think they probably want to get a look at Nick York for the same reason they wanted to get a look at Billy Cook. They're Rule 5 eligible. You want to get some data on how they fare against Major League pitching. So you're going to have to add them to the 40-man roster anyway. You might as well do it. Now, Anthony Shearer asks, do you think Rutger McGroarty will make the team out of camp? Yes, I do. Very much do. I think he's capable. I think he adds some elements that the Penguins really need. They've struggled to have a true power forward, and I think Rutger McGroarty can be that since Patrick Hornquist, maybe. I mean, I'm not saying he's Patrick Hornquist. He's not. Those are crazy expectations. But yes, I think there's a place for him. I think there's a need for him. Maybe even on the power play. We'll see. You can use a big body in front, somebody willing to throw their body around and generate some havoc. I'm just curious where McGroarty ends up playing. I think he has the makeup, size, skill, mindset to maybe play in the top 6. And maybe that's asking too much of him too. So I do think he makes the team out of camp. I think I'd like to see him up close more and, see where it lands and see where they want to play him. But yes, I do think he makes the team out of camp. And yeah, well, that does it. We are out of time anyway. Thank you so much for the wonderful questions. Really, really appreciate them. We'll be back to it on Monday morning. I'll be talking to you probably from, Denver Airport, something like that, wrapping up the Backyard Brawl and Steelers Broncos. So thanks for watching First 10, everybody.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.